Join.
Hello?
Hey there. Good to hear you.
I have no clue how I managed to do this, but I managed to interview Prez of the Castle, the person who made the Friendo Year Endo Awards. Yeah, that Prez of the Castle. And during this interview, we talked about his start in content creation, how he started the Friendo Year Endo Awards, and a whole lot more. Alright, then I would say let's start off with the introductions.
As far as I go, hi, I'm Prez of the Castle. Love to meet you. I like action games, RPGs, fighting games, adventure games, indie games, all that good stuff. We do cartoons for Digimon and Pokemon. We make model kits for Gundam, Zoids, and Digimon. We play variety games. We do fight nights, variety nights, and I have my lovely stream team here with me, which are all these little plushies here, little names and whatnot, and we got my little supporters on the channel. I am also the director of the Friendo Year Endo award show that goes on every year, usually at the beginning of January and December. And yeah, I'm a fan of RPGs, fighting games, anime, that kind of stuff.
I would say let's start off with the first question. When did you start streaming?
About four or 5 years ago, in July-ish apparently. I started streaming because me and my friends were trying to make an indie game and it wasn't going terribly well, but we figured for brand recognition it might be good to put our names out there a little bit, so we started actually making YouTube content on a very light schedule. So we were going through that, but then he got promotion at work, life got busy, and we couldn't make stuff together anymore, and doing YouTube just felt too lonely for me at that time. So I figured I'd give Twitch a try, and I was basically hoping that if I yelled into this blank void, that eventually it would yell back, and thankfully it did eventually yell back there.
Were you thinking of doing streams on YouTube before going on Twitch, or did you go straight with Twitch?
I didn't know YouTube streaming was even a thing back then, if I'm 100% honest. YouTube streaming has crossed my mind as far as multi-streams goes, but I don't really see myself leaving Twitch.
What exactly inspired you to make the Friendo Year Endo Awards?
So the way that started, it was probably 2020, 2021, around that time. A lot of good friendos of mine were having a very difficult year. So the idea was originally, I reached out to another friend of mine. I'm like, hey, I think one way we can raise people's spirits and make them feel more valued and put a smile on their face when we're going through such difficult times is, why don't we give out these little awards just for our group of friends, right? And it was supposed to be a 10-person, 15-person thing at most, but then another person would end up being oh, but I also want to congratulate this friend on their accomplishments with this, or I want to talk about this guy, or I really like this person, and it just kind of snowballed wildly out of control until it ended up just becoming a full award show. It was supposed to be a small thing that very much expanded very fast. We basically just wanted to show people that there was some good things in their lives and that there were moments that they could be proud of that year, regardless of all the other things that they were struggling with, just to kind of help their mood or make them feel more valued and seen.
How did you come up with the event name being Friendo Year Endo?
So that was basically, friendo is just a word I say a lot. We were trying to come up with a name for the award show when started getting much bigger and whatnot. And I just thought, friendo is a word I say a lot. It's an award show at the end of the year, so we just put endo to make it rhyme with friendo. It was dumb, but it was fun.
I mean, it kind of makes sense that you would have something rhyme with friendo.
Yeah, so it was Friendo Year Endo because it was that close group of friendos that were celebrating each other at the year endo. It's so dumb, but it's great.
It's awesome, it's amazing. Serenity asks if you ever expected the Friendo Year Endo Awards to ever get this much attention.
Not even, not even for a moment. Absolutely not. This was supposed to be a 10 to 15 person thing the first year. Ended up being like 100 person thing. Like the first year was like 100 to like 150. The next year was like 200. This year it was like 300. It was no, I absolutely never thought it would be a bigger thing. Like there wasn't a single thought on my mind when we first started that would be a big thing. But now I'm like, now I can't help but like hope that it gets more attention, you know?
Yeah. After doing the award show for 3 years now, what have you learned throughout those years that you wished you knew sooner, or you would like to tell other people who are thinking of doing similar events like this?
So it is an ongoing learning experience. We learn new things to smooth out and make the show better every single year. Every year, like things change, we change categories, or we change some of the procedures, and it gets smoother, and then there's some hiccups, and we do learn things. And that's the thing that you have to be most prepared for. You have to be prepared for the first few times to not go perfectly. Some things to keep in mind is like for events where you have to reach out to other people, that is something that you want to get started way sooner, because that was probably one of the most frustrating points about this year's show. We use a nomination panel. The nomination panel like makes their nominations, and this year, because in past years people were like very surprised, and there was a few people that when they found out, they just didn't want to be part of the show, or they, for whatever reason, they didn't want it. And so because of that, we wanted to make sure we got everyone's explicit consent. And that was a very time-consuming process to just try and get a response out of anyone, to just get like, yes, I am okay with it. So when it comes to contacting other people, that is a step that you want to take very early. Another thing that we learned was the importance of a good, solid production team, which is something we started last year and we definitely smoothed out this year. The first year, it was just me and like one other person doing all of those, which we immediately realized like we need help. So the second year we decided to create a small team to help us with it and help smooth things out, but we still ran into some issues with some of the people we selected. The point of the production team is once the nominations are in, they're supposed to start looking for clips and assembling those reels. I provide feedback and review things, and so do other people. Some of them I can't review everything. Also, some things do slip through the cracks, but the importance of a good, solid production team is very, very important. The biggest thing I can say is if you do use a production team for anything, you have to ensure that the people there are not just there because they say they can help, but they have to be able to take criticism well as have very good communication. One of the issues we ran into with last year's production team, this year's was fun. Last year we had someone who made a reel, and then when I got around to finally having time to check their stuff, there were issues there, and I listed out the issues and what needed to be fixed, and they said, oh, I'm on vacation, I can't do anything anymore. So I had to redo that entire reel from scratch, and that was a very frustrating experience. So make sure that whoever you work with on the show, that they are managed appropriately, that they can take criticism, because you're going to have to be giving them continuous feedback. You have to make sure that you're reviewing things, looking at things, and giving feedback in a timely manner, and that they are willing to make adjustments according to that feedback. That is one of the biggest things I would say. Another thing that we learned for next year is we're going to be using not only a production team, but a quality control team. Because like I said, some clips and stuff slip through the cracks and they aren't maybe as stream appropriate as we would like them to be. So a quality control team helps us make sure that errors are filtered out and like clips are better screened and whatnot. And that is a hope that we have for next year. We want to make sure that technical errors and whatnot are found before the show starts, because there was 1 or 2 instances during this year's show where 2 people's names were mixed up on the reels. Things like that can slip through the cracks, unfortunately, and we do try to address them while we're live there and make the corrections and pivot. That is one thing that we feel like will be very helpful to us. So I would say get people that can help you, make sure there's good, solid communication. Start whatever steps that involve people beyond yourself. If there are people you need to ask things, if there are people that you need to work with, those are the first people that you need to talk to. You need to get that step out of the way as soon as possible. Get your production team in place so you have a good, solid foundation, because as much as you think you can handle everything, there's a good chance that you will absolutely benefit from some help.
Absolutely, yeah. I feel like during the editing, I'm gonna be like sitting here having like 30 minutes of footage only and going like, what am I supposed to do?
So one thing you could do is you could look at and show some of the website. That was something that we put into place, I think, the second year. And during this third year is when we really kind of sat down and focused on working on it more, making it more presentable, more easy to navigate and whatnot. The like visual aspect of the website is all by the same artist I work with, which is me, Dawn Dragon Art. They did all the visuals for the website, which is why it looks presentable this year. They're the same person that does all the visuals on my stream and my content in general. They're someone who I've been working with for a very long time. So they've gone above and beyond to make the website presentable and help in many aspects of the show.
The website definitely helps a lot, I can say. Doing a bit of research, I found that you are part of a studio called Studio Glass Castle, and I just kind of wanted to ask, like, what is it about?
So the reason I'm called President of the Castle is because Studio Glass Castle is a side project that I started, or it's an LLC I run. So I am the president of Studio Glass Castle, ergo President of the Castle. It was just an LLC name that we ended up adopting when me and some friends were trying to make a little indie side scroller. Basically what Studio Glass Castle is, we started with like an indie game project, and that was the company that we were going to run it under at the time. The idea of it being called Studio Glass Castle specifically is me and my friends, we all wanted to do things involving video games, and none of us would actually ever do anything. We would always say, we want to do this, we want to do that, and it felt like we were always outside looking in when it came to that sphere, you know, of things that we love as far as gaming and stuff goes. But we were never on the inside. We never actually took that step forward. So the idea behind calling it Studio Glass Castle was an idea of taking that first step of no longer just looking in on the outside, but basically establishing yourself and moving forward. It is meant to be a way to grant your own wishes, to stop always looking in from the outside and know what it's like to make your own castle from your own hands.
When was Studio Glass Castle founded?
Let's see here. That is a good question. I think Studio Glass Castle was around 2017, 2018. Maybe later than that. It's really hard to tell, honestly. Like, I'm trying to think back. It was a very long time ago. I feel like it was 2017 or 2018 if I had to take a guess.
Is Studio Glass Castle in any way related to the Friendo Year Endo Awards, or are those two completely separate things from each other?
So right now I would not say there's any active relationship beyond using the email and whatnot, or that brand name for general like website association and whatnot, because I think it says like Studio Glass Castle at the bottom of the website.
Being the director of the Friendo Year Endo Awards, you probably have played a big role in celebrating small streamers and making them get recognized by more people. Now, have you once felt the pressure of doing this during any of those 3 years that you have done the award show?
Always. I know I try not to show it during the award show, but the production itself is a very long process. Typically it starts in September and we work through December. It is a very, very time-consuming project with each of its steps. It is something that I always worry, like, if I'm giving people their proper due respect, if I'm giving them the attention they deserve, if I'm representing them in the light that they want to be seen. I always worry about like how people will see the show and like what their thoughts about it are, because in the back of my head I worry that people worry that I'm like taking advantage of them or something by having it on my channel rather than my dedicated channel. I worry all the time when it comes to that show about like all the things that could go wrong along the way. Like will I be able to do okay? Will we do as well as we did the previous year at least? Will people care about the show? Will people support the show? Do people enjoy it? Do people like there's all these what ifs, and it's all those same what ifs that come with content creation. But yes, I always worry about the show. I always get nervous behind the scenes. I'm always a little anxious. I'm always the most anxious like right before the show, which my co-hosts are the ones that like see that part, but yeah. Yeah, I'm always a little worried and I'm always a little anxious because it is the most emotionally fulfilling project I work on. So it is so incredibly near and dear and personal to me that I can't help but worry about it.
Did you ever get a burnout?
I don't think I have ever had a burnout with the awards show, but like in a personal life standpoint, I absolutely did. Like more than once. I would say I had a major depressive episode, maybe my first or second year of streaming, where my mental health wasn't doing well for stuff outside of stream. So I stepped away from streaming and things for like a month or two, just to try and get my life a little bit more back in order. And then last year, I was definitely burned out at work. Not last year, the year before that, 2 years ago. When I had a different job, I was very burned out at work. I was constantly taking work home with me. I was working 2 jobs, so I was working like 70 to 80 hours a week, and I was just exhausted. I was working a job I didn't like. It was definitely not good, and it was definitely getting the better of my health and my mental health, and I was very burned out at work, and stream was kind of like the only way I could kind of escape that at the time. So I think it was definitely like stepping away from that and you coming back to it with a better attitude and like being more energized and being able to see these things with a fresh body and mind definitely helps you be more progressive as well.
What is the most hardest thing you have done?
Hardest things I've probably done are either the award show or I've only ever done like one 24-hour stream, and that was exhausting. And that was incredibly exhausting to get through. It was a lot of fun, but like both of those things have like a lot of planning and whatnot that goes into them and trying to manage expectations and things. But yeah, no, I remember I had both of those things. I had to like take a few days off afterwards. So either the award show or the 24-hour stream I did. I might do another one when I hit like 2,000, but other than that, I don't really see myself doing 24 hours as a regular thing. 12 hours I can manage. 24 is rough.
We are now on to the last part, which is the surprise questions. So Trist, they have asked you 2 questions, which are these 2.
I love those questions. I didn't think of such a weird question, but now. So for my questions for the future person, you already know the one. Are you attracted to your own model? If you interview a live streamer who is not using any models, just ask them, are you attracted to yourself? Have you ever just looked at yourself and thought, yeah, I'd hit it? Because I want to know. And then as for the second question, the question I want you to ask them is, do they think they can beat you, C, in a fight? Can they beat up C in a fight?
Me?
Yeah, that's you're the interviewer, so I want them to have to say from me asking, do they think that they could beat the crap out of you?
Okay.
And I'll answer the third one too. See, I love you, but I think I could beat you in a fight.
Jesus Christ.
Okay. To answer the first question, I am a narcissist. I love me. I could absolutely get it. I have Valentine's art of me loving myself, like taking myself on a date. That's how much I love me.
Isn't that your Discord banner?
Yeah. So yeah. And I actually used to box and teach self-defense, so I could absolutely beat you in a fight. I'm sorry.
Oh God.
I mean that's it. I mean, just don't start a fight and we're good. We can just have tea instead. Doesn't that sound lovely?
We're gonna settle it over a nice cup of tea.
There we go. Yes. That's how we can.
Oh God. Those were the last questions. If you like, you can go ahead and promote anything from your channel if you like.
Sure. If you're interested in checking me out, you can find me as Prez of the Castle across all social media. It's just Prez with a Z. You'll find that I'm a variety streamer who does a whole bunch of things and likes his plushies with his co-host Gengar, emotional support Eevee, and intern Terrier Mom, and a bunch of good friendos that are all looking forward to meeting you.
After interviewing Prez, I now know that the Friend of the Year Endo Awards was supposed to be a little thing for his friends during difficult times, which spiraled into a whole award show very quickly. Which also made him get really nervous, considering that in recent years, more than hundreds of people would watch the award show, aside from its usual double-digit viewers. This year, the award show hit over 300 viewers, almost doubling last year's viewer count, which is way above his expectations. And if you want to know how other people felt when they saw some of their content blow up, make sure to check out this playlist.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Okay, so you kind of answered most of the questions from part 1.
I'm sorry, I talk a lot.